Okay, good morning. Thanks for coming out. This is the Canvas Basics training. My name is Mary Speight. I am the Canvas administrator. With me I have Lori Morrow. She's a senior instructional consultant. Reed Thompson's our AVP. And then I have some production team here that's going to record our training session today for people who couldn't make it in person and they may want to review it later online. So first we're going to start with where you started to get here, the Teach Anywhere site. And the main reason that I'm going over this page is because there's a link here that gives you all the information of what we're going to go over today. So for example, the uploading course content, if you forget what I said today, there's the steps outlined for you. And some of them are even going to have a screenshot. You've also all been enrolled into the Canvas Bootcamp course that goes a little bit more in depth if you need to find out something that we didn't cover or if you want to find out a little bit more information about it. There's also Canvas instructor guides linked here on this page that will go way in depth and give you more information than you ever wanted to know about Canvas. There's also some helpful tips, making your class accessible, engaging students online, transition tips, and some information about how you can get help from us. So as we also are going to be going home to work, our phones don't go with us. So we'll have a chat available as well as our email as usual. We're also extending our hours, as you probably saw on the Canvas site. After you've logged in, it'll say we've extended our hours. Here's our chat. Here's email. So we'll have some Saturdays and Sundays because we know not everybody works Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. So once you go to Canvas, you'll just log in with your regular EUID and password. There's that note I was telling you about. There's a link to our website and our chat and our email address. On this menu, you also see a help button. So if you don't take away anything else today, this is where you'll find your help. This is where you'll get to be able to contact us with different methods. Again, at the very top is our chat. You won't see the student information unless you're a student enrolled in a course. Faculty help desk with a link to our email. Some frequently asked questions that we've put out on our website for you to review, and how to search the Canvas guides. That's not the one I want. So usually when you get your course from Canvas each semester, it's empty. And it will look just like this. So at the beginning of each semester, normally what we want to do is post our syllabus or some other file for our students to look at. And in order to do that, you have to have a module first. So everything in Canvas is housed in modules. So we'll just click here that says create a new module. You probably already have content in your course. So I'm just going to call my module Welcome. Of course, that doesn't tell our students anything because we haven't put anything inside of that module yet. So I'm going to upload a file in here. To upload any type of file, add pages, you just click the plus. And then it gives me some options on the different types of things that I can add to this module. Right now we're going to go with File. And then we're going to select a new file because I don't have anything uploaded into this course yet. So now I'm going to click on Choose File, and it's going to give me everything that's on my computer. And somewhere on here, oh, I have a syllabus. So I'm just going to say Add Item. And now my syllabus is on my site. Now this little check mark means that this file is published. But since it lives inside of this module welcome, this also has to be published as well. So you just click the little box, and now my check mark is green. So things with green check marks your students can see. Things with the circle and the line through it your students cannot see. So the question was, if I have created a module and it's not published, they can at least see a module is there, and no, they cannot. So if I were to make this unavailable and I click on student view, they don't see anything. So we'll leave student view, and we're going to go ahead and publish the module. So let's say I want to just post some information to my students and I don't have a file. You can click on this plus sign again. And if we click on page, we can just create a page. And we're going to say week whatever number we're in. Now this page is not published and it is empty. So I'm going to click on that, week 10, and I'm going to edit that page. So I can just type here in the box just like I would in Word. It has basically the same type of icons at the top in the toolbar. There's one for media, URLs, images, YouTube videos, other external tools that we have in here, or you can record media. So you can type whatever you want in the box. And here I'm ready for my students to see this page. If you're not ready for the students to see the page and you need to work on it some more, you can just click Save and publish it later. Or you can save and publish it now. So the question was, will it do text and video or one or the other? It will do both. So you can add as much text and video and pictures to that one page as you want to. So we'll go back to modules, and you'll see now there are two things on my students' site for them to view. The next tool we're going to look at is discussions. Right now there are no discussions, so that's why this little eyeball with the line through it is there. Once we've added a discussion, it will be available to the students as well. To add a discussion, you'll just click this plus discussion up at the top, and we'll give it a title. And then in this box, you'll tell the students what you want them to talk about. You can also add here media, links, images, YouTube videos. And then we have some options. You can make it graded. You can allow threaded replies. Kind of makes it easier to see who replied to who instead of just one long stream of replies. You can set dates so that you don't have somebody at the end of the semester replying to something that's happening this week. Like if they missed it, they no longer get to reply to that. We're going to go ahead and save and publish this. And this is what our discussion looks like. The students will just click here to reply, and this is where you would go to reply to them as well. And you'll see the little eyeball with the line through it is now gone for discussions. Quizzes is the same way. There's an eyeball with a line through it because we don't have any quizzes yet in our course. So we're going to click on quizzes, and we'll click plus quiz. We're going to stick with classic quizzes right now. The new quizzes is brand new to Canvas, and there are still some things that it doesn't have as far as features. So we're going to leave that alone until Canvas finishes building that out. And then we'll click Submit. And if you don't change the title of your quiz, your students are going to get a quiz called Unnamed Quiz. Now, quiz is synonymous with test, so all exams, assessments, quizzes, whatever you call them, this is where these will be held. You can give them instructions about this quiz, like this quiz will cover chapter 5. You have 30 minutes to take it. It's, worth so much percentage of your grade. Whatever normal information that you would provide to them in class, you can provide them here. We're going to make it a graded quiz, of course. Now, in the shuffle answers, this kind of depends on you and how your quizzes run and how you ask questions. If you have some that say all of the above, or both A and B, or both A and C, don't check that box. Because all of the above could be in the middle, and they'll think, yeah, that's the one, just A. So A and C could be B and D in another student's quiz that they take. So I would probably leave that off. So time limit, how many questions are you giving? Normally it's 1 minute per question plus an additional 5 to 10 minutes. If you have an essay question, 5 minutes per essay question. So you just kind of have to add up however many minutes goes with your test. So if I have a quiz of 30 questions, I would make mine about 35 minutes. I'm not going to give them multiple attempts. They don't get that in class. I'm not going to give it to them now. I'm going to let them see their quiz responses just so they don't ask, how did I do? But I'm only going to let them see it once. And I'm going to give them one question at a time. This can help prevent the students from sitting next to each other, calling each other on the phone. What did you get for question 1? Or trying to print all of their questions out and sending them to their friends. Some people prefer to lock the questions after answering them. So after they've answered question 2, they cannot go back to question 2. Once they've moved on, and that's it. We're not going to require an access code, because you don't want to have to email all your students, here's the access code to take this test. They're in the class, of course, they're going to have to take the test. IP addresses is if they're going to take the test on campus in Sage Hall, but they're not going to do that, so we're going to leave that off. And yes, everyone has to take the test. So we're going to give them a due date. After this due date, they can't take the test. And we're going to make it available to them for 3 days. Yes, so the question is, if you need to assign it to another student on a different date, you would click Add, and then you pick the student in the course who needs the different date, and you'll see everyone else has been changed up here from everyone. So you can give that one student their different due date and their different time frame. Now, just because I've left it open for 3 days doesn't mean they can take it for, multiple times in that 3-day window. They take it once, they get 30 minutes, that's it. Once that 30 minutes is up, they can't go back into it. So I'm not going to save it and publish it yet, because I don't have any questions. So the question was, where is the time limit for that? It is up here in the options. So we're just going to save it for now, but now we need some questions. So we're going to edit the test, and it's going to give us our details again with all of our options, so we can review those if we want to. And to add questions, we'll go to the Questions tab. And then there's 3 buttons here: New question group, or Find Questions. We're not going to click on the Find Questions because we haven't made any. So we're going to click on plus new question to build our first one. It doesn't care what the title is. You can title them all the same thing. But here is where our options are for the different types of test questions that are in Canvas. So there's, of course, the multiple choice. There's some true, false. There's some fill in the blanks, multiple answers, blah, 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 blah. Essay questions. We're not going to go over all the different types of question types just because we have limited time. But we will go over a couple of them. So here's a multiple choice. I want this one to be worth 5 points. And here's where my question text goes. What is today? So here's where we're going to put our answer choices. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, so on. If you need to add other options, you just click plus, add another answer. And now we have to choose which one is our correct answer. It's obviously not Sunday today. So to change it to Tuesday, we just click that green arrow, and it says this is now our correct answer. These little boxes are for feedback. If you want to give them a comment that says that's correct, you click this button, and you can add links, URLs, same thing as all the other places. Most people don't go with feedback, but if you choose to, you can give it for wrong things like review, chapter 5, page, whatever. You may even give them what the right answer is, but most people don't go with feedback. So then we're going to click Update Question. It's very important. I forget to do this all the time. And then if you don't, you have to go and retype your question all over again. So now I have one question in my test, and it updates my point totals up at the top where it says points 5. So I'm going to add another new question. This one I'm going to make true and false. Today is Tuesday. And it already tells me, is this true or is this false? If it were false, I would click the green arrow. So I'm just going to click Update Question. That one I left at 1 point, so now I have a total points of 6. So right now I'm giving my students 30 minutes to take 2 questions. So of course I would want to add some more to this, but we can add one more. This time let's add an essay question. Describe the meaning of chapter 5. And that's all you have to do for these. Update question. If I forgot to change my point total, and this needs to be more than 1 because it's an essay question, it's a pretty important one, you can edit the question and change it here. That's a really important question. And then update question again. And now my point total is 56. If I'm ready for my students to take the quiz, and I'm happy with all my settings, you can just click somewhere. Where's it? Oh, save and publish at the bottom. Otherwise, you can click save and come back and work on it later and then publish it afterwards.
You have to click details to get back and publish it?
No. No, I just showed that you could edit those again if you wanted to review them before you saved and published it.
So this is a Word type document, right? So you can cut and paste and put stuff in.
You can cut and paste from Word, yes. So if you have a high-stakes exam, which you probably will if we're close to the rest of the semester, and it's more than 50 questions and it's in a Word document, you can send those to us, and we'll send out information on how you can do that. So let's say this is one of my final exams and I'm worried about my students cheating. You can go through the lockdown browser. Now what lockdown browser does, it's a program browser that the students install on their own machines that prevents them from printing, opening other browser windows, and opening other applications. So before their exam starts, it'll say, you've got these other applications running, you need to close them first before this will run. So we're gonna, and you can watch through the video tutorials getting started, some resources here, but we're gonna go ahead and continue to the lockdown browser. It's gonna list all of the exams and quizzes that's in your course. To enable it, you click on the green arrow and go to settings. And we're going to choose to require the lockdown browser for this exam. Again, we're not going to do password settings. That's usually for a proctored environment. So our testing center has the lockdown browser installed on all of their machines. And sometimes there's a password that's required. And the proctor will come by and enter that password for the students. Under advanced settings, you can tell them that they have to be locked into the browser until the exam is completed, which means they can't leave it and come back. You can allow access to specific external web domains. So if you have a website that they need to go review material on to answer specific questions, you can allow that. A calculator, and you can allow them to print from the toolbar. I don't know why you would want that option there, but it is there. If you need to review what these things mean, they have a little button that says explain. A little window pops up, tells you what that exactly does. And inside the lockdown browser, there's something called Respondus Monitor. You don't have to require it for the exam, but you can. And basically, it records them as they take the exam. So the defaults for this are all of them, but we'll definitely require that they do a webcam check to make sure that their webcam is functioning and a facial detection check. So it will watch them, and if there's a lot of movement, if there's somebody else that comes into the room, if there's just a lot of eye movement, it will detect all of that stuff. It will record it and flag it, and you'll be able to review that video afterwards. You don't have to sit there and watch them all. So you can tell them they have to show a student photo to make sure it is that student taking the exam and not somebody else doing it for them. Show their ID. And it will provide more information to the students with the additional instructions, guidelines, and tips. And then the environment check makes them pick up whatever device they're using and display their whole surroundings before they're allowed to begin the exam. So if there's any kind of question about what was in the room with this student, who was in the room with this student, it will record all of that and you can review it later.
So let's say a student doesn't have a camera on their computer.
So the question is, what if the student doesn't have a camera on their computer? You're going to have to turn that off for the whole class. Or your other option is to make an additional copy of the test for that one student.
Again, with large classes, there's a high probability that some proportion of students are not going to have cameras. They're going to have an old desktop.
Yeah, if they have a laptop, it usually is built in with one, but for the longest time, I didn't have one at home either. So that's about the lockdown browser and monitor. Once the student tries to access the exam, if they don't have the monitor installed on their machine, it will tell them this exam requires lockdown browser. Click here to install it. It takes them to the installer, so you don't have to provide that link to them. We have provided that link on the Learn Anywhere site if they need it. Some of them are going to have it installed from the UNT computers that are being loaned out.
So I have students with disabilities in my 300-person course. So what I do, they can't use lockdown browser, and so I just have a separate easy 2-second copy of it. And then that's the one that I post for that student. So the same thing with Lockdown Browser or Monitor. Let's say that you had 5 students who didn't have it, but you really wanted to use it for the other 200 students. You could do that and just send the 5 the non-lockdown version.
Are there any more questions about quizzes?
Grading, how is it graded?
It is, question is, how is it graded? It's graded automatically unless there is an essay question. So as you tell it what the correct answers are, it's already going to automatically grade everything that's not essay.
And how do we get the grade?
It's going to be posted in the gradebook, which I don't have any students that have posted anything. They haven't. It'll all be right here. So let's say that Lori took my quiz and she made a 42 out of 56. It'll put a 42 here.
And does it get released to the students right away, or do you have to release can they see the scores right away?
So the question is, can they see the scores right away? Yes, unless you come in here and tell it not to.
So can we do that beforehand and it doesn't show it?
So if you have a student that has a ODA requirement that says they get extra time on their test, you can do that by going to the quiz. And there's a button here that says moderate this quiz. So since Lori's here, I'm going to pick on her a little bit. Lori needs extra time on her test, so I'm going to click the pencil next to her name. You can also give them extra attempts. Or you can give her extra time. So if she needs 10 minutes more than everyone else, we're going to give her 10 minutes. And it reminds you how much everybody already gets, so you don't have to go back and look. So now she'll have 40 minutes to take this test. You may also get some students that say, during my 30-minute window, my computer crashed and I couldn't get back online in that 30-minute window. You can come in here and give them 1 extra attempt.
So what does the 1 extra attempt do? Does it allow them to go back to the questions they've already answered, or?
So the question is, after the attempt, can they go back and review the other one? No. So click Save, and it shows here that she has 2 attempts left, and it reminds you she gets extra 10 minutes on each attempt. There are questions about moderating exams? So now that my course has been built and we're about to release it to our students, we can create an announcement that kind of lets them know what is going to be going on the rest of the semester, since this is all new. So I'm going to give it a title. We're going to give them a little message. You could say things like, if we meet Monday, Wednesday, Friday, at 8 a.m. in our face-to-face version, we're still going to meet, or you'll still be expected to be online Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 a.m. However you decide to transition your course, you can let them know here. If you want to go ahead and set this up ahead of time, you can delay the posting. And we're going to post it Monday when the students are expected to start working on their courses again. Or you can go ahead and post it now if your students are already in the class, to kind of give them a heads up. Monday, this is what we're going to do. And then save. Now on the home page of your course, that's where the students go when they first access it. So this is what they'll see. There's some settings for your entire course that we recommend. So if you go to settings and go all the way down to the bottom under more options, I already have it selected to show recent announcements on Canvas homepage because I want to make sure the students see all the announcements as they come up instead of having to go to the tool to check for announcements. And you can select however many announcements you want to post on a regular basis. There's some other options that we recommend or don't recommend. We recommend that you allow them to attach files to discussions, not create discussion topics. That's a default that's already checked. We recommend you uncheck that. Uncheck, edit, or delete their own discussion posts. Uncheck, organize their own groups. And uncheck, hide totals in student grade summary. So the question is, once a student takes an exam and it still needs to be graded, is that total reflected in their grade? The answer is no, it is not. So what they see is anything that's been graded as of today. If I need to do some work and go in and grade, it's not going to reflect that information at all.
But can they see the score for that exam, or they cannot see that?
So they cannot see that score for that exam. It'll say the instructor's still working on these. So update course details. And that displays that announcement. The only other thing that you should check off to see if you've done it, some people don't use Canvas regularly for their face-to-face class, is you have to publish it. So you just check that green box, and now the students can access your course. Before, they wouldn't even see it on their dashboard. So the question is, why do we recommend that students can attach files to discussions?
Yesterday during our class, someone wanted to provide each other's artwork and have discussion based on that, comments, so they can upload a picture.
So certainly for that kind of class, it makes sense.
Right.
I teach biology, and I think it could get
You
really
could-
cumbersome.
Yeah, you could just turn that off for your class.
But in some certain situations, it's definitely an option that you can use and provide a discussion around a file or a picture of something.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
But I would rather upload certain things that I want the students to discuss.
Yes.
I wouldn't necessarily want them to upload things.
Definitely, yes.
When you post an announcement,
Mhm.
you said it goes to the homepage of that course.
Yes,
not
ma'am.
to their dashboard or anything.
Right. If you look at their dashboard, they get to-dos and they get coming up things, but announcements don't necessarily post on this page. The question is there an email to let the students know you've just posted something? It automatically does.
Oh, it does.
Yes. They can go and turn off certain notifications that they get emails about. Like in my notifications, I don't want to get emails every time my instructor creates content, but for announcements, yes. Emails, yes. Graded things, yes. So one of the other things that they will get notifications about is if you decide to use Zoom. So as an instructor, you can create a Zoom meeting room. So you should see Zoom on your navigation menu automatically. We added that for you last week. And so this is what Zoom looks like usually within Canvas. You should see the Canvas stuff on the side. This browser set up a little bit weird, so if you get that message, just say, yeah, go ahead.
Question. My window says Zoom LTI Pro.
Yes. It will say authorize.
Okay, missed that.
Okay. So if you have not used Zoom from within Canvas or used Zoom at all, it will say, do you authorize Zoom to access your account? It just means connect your email, and that's all that means. So yes, click authorize.
Normally happen at once,
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And how did you get to Zoom from that from campus?
It's on your navigation menu in your course.
Within
Yes. So here I can schedule a meeting for my students in advance, right now, however you need to set up a meeting. There's an option to set up a recurring meeting, daily, repeat every 7 days, 1 days, ended on April 26th, whatever date you decide your course is going to be not meeting with Zoom anymore. And then you don't have to set up a new room every week. You just do it the one time. Unless you're only going to have the meeting the one time, then you just leave the box unchecked. And usually these options are going to be your default, and that's the ones you want to use unless you're going to use this for your office hours for students to meet with you. Of course, that means you have to be in the room whether somebody shows up or not. But let's say you have 10 people show up to your office hours and you don't want them all talking at once. You're going to enable the waiting room, and it'll give you one person at a time. And when one person leaves, a new one will pop in. Yes, ma'am. So if you're going to use Zoom for your office hours and you have more than one person show up, you click Enable Waiting Room.
Okay,
And it will only allow one person in the room at a time.
perfect. Okay, thank you.
So we click Save at the bottom. And you can either start this meeting, or if it's for later, just go back to your Canvas course.
Could you talk about the record? Because some students probably won't be in the classroom,
Right, okay.
so I just want to know, where is it stored?
It should be, this one I believe is going to store, I think, on your personal computer. You might have the option to store it in the cloud when you record it.
But is it automatically put on the course Canvas?
I'm not sure where it stores it, to tell you the truth. Oh, here's cloud recordings here. So it'll store it in the cloud and it's available here.
But how do you get it to your course so that?
Right here. It will automatically add here.
So it's automatically on the course so students can get a hold of it?
Yeah.
Yeah, when you want them to.
Yeah.
Also email you, like after it's recorded, you get an email.
What's nice about recording in Zoom is that if you record, it does the transcription. It's about 95% accurate. And so there'll be captioning on the bottom for any student. That is, if you're doing it live, it doesn't caption while you speak, but it will caption a record. And so that anyone who has a disability or prefers to see the words as well as listen would have that opportunity to do that. So you do have to check it, especially if you have any kind of an accent like Texans. Because especially in the sciences, there are a lot of words that might come out kind of funky. And so you're going to want to watch yourself and check those to make sure that there's not something that's in that transcription that is way off.
It's an edit.
Yeah. So after you after you schedule your Zoom meeting, there is a calendar invite that your students get. If they click on it, it can take them straight to the Zoom meeting. They'll also get an email in their inbox, which automatically forwards to their email that they have in Canvas. And when they go into your course, when they click on Zoom, they will see that we're supposed to meet today, and they can just click on Join. Here's where they'll access any of those cloud recordings, and they can view previous meetings that they may have missed.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
I was following along with you and I made a mock Zoom meeting.
Uh-huh.
And I want to, I can't tell if it's
Then
Does
it's,
it automatically go to where students can see it, or?
yes,
Okay. And then, of course, I won't start it till next week, because that's when it's scheduled.
very good.
Thank you.
So the question is, will the screen capture whatever's on your screen? Yes. So if you have a PowerPoint, or if you're showing a video, or if you're just showing an image, if you're showing a piece of the course, it will record you. It should also record the chat and whatever's on your screen.
Is there a need for you to show us that?
So the question is, do the students have access to a free account like we do? Yes, they do.
So how do they do?
So for students to get an account in Canvas, if they need one to schedule meetings, they'll go to unt.zoom.us. But to use it in Canvas, they do not need an account. They only need an account with Zoom if they need to actually schedule meetings with other students.
So they just get a link and they click on that.
Yes.
Take them to the meetings.
Yes, so this is the student view right here. I just click on Zoom and I get a link to join.
But if they happen to not be in Canvas, I have some kids that I've observed that are not in Canvas.
Right.
So they can go to the unt.zoom.us.
They still don't need an account to join a Zoom meeting. So if you send them a link, yeah, you just send them the link and they can join that way. Yeah, and you can get that link from your Canvas course. There's a join URL right here where it says invite attendees if you just need to email them to them. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so when the students go to their course, so this is my fake course,
Yes.
and I'm a student in here, I go down to Zoom, and they'll have a link here that says join. They can also get when they look at their email or their calendar, and they click on that appointment in that calendar, there's a link there as well that says click here to join Zoom meeting. And there's a link in the email as well. You have to create the announcement, but they will get the calendar invite and they will get an email automatically. So this is the email that my student account got from my teacher account. And it says click here to join this on March 17th at 10 a.m.
So just word of caution to their clutter box.
Well, if they check their email in Canvas, there's no clutter box. So you can remind them, don't forget to check your Canvas inbox, check Canvas calendar for different things that are posted there. Question is chat feature in Canvas. That is not a tool that we recommend. Basically, the chat feature in Canvas is hosted by like Big Blue Button, and Zoom works better.
Okay, so don't use it. Okay, I just saw it over here on the side.
And you can use it, I've used it before, but it's really cruddy, it drops. So
so just
since
do
she
that.
has Zoom,
And then what about the Office 365? What does that do? Is there any benefit of using the Office 365?
The question is there a benefit to using the Office 365 tool? If you're going to be sharing collaborative documents, you can link OneNote, different Office 365 applications there. My suggestion is no.
I do suggest hiding most of the items in the menu from the students so they don't get confused on how they will be using that tool. So if you just go to the settings area and then to
Navigation, which is the middle option. And then anything like chat, attendance, Office 365, class notebook, anything, you can disable that. You can drag and drop it and put it down below and hide all of those items, because it will confuse your students if you leave them available.
Right.
And then make sure and save when you make those adjustments.
That's a
Yes,
So that we should not move.
And what about
they
It's
should
not
have their
recommended.
textbook by now.
it's not recommended, the collaboration feature, not recommended either?
Exactly, yeah, I would take that off as well.
Just do it.
Unless you're going to be sharing Google Docs, and that's still not something that I recommend that you do.
What is lockdown browser?
So Lockdown Browser is the tool we went over that locks down the exams for students so that they can't access other sites.
So I'm not sure if you're gonna go to, but is it Panapto we can use from here?
So Panopto is available in Canvas. We have specific training on that and a course available for that if you want to go through that.
But I recommend Zoom.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know there are some people that are already trained and use Panopto, and that's great, but the training, the learning curve on that is a lot harder than the one on Zoom. And Panopto's captioning is about 75%. So, you know, because Zoom is, we have the professional license, you can do everything right there on your laptop, so.
The other downside to Panopto is that you have to download a recorder to your machine, and if you don't have admin rights to it, you're going to have to contact IT support to have them install it for you. Yeah, so that was a good question. If you have to publish your course before you can interact with your students, even in an email. Yes, so the question is, can you upload other videos into a page? The answer is yes. So I'm going to edit this page because let's add a video. If I don't know that I actually have one on my computer, but you'll click Insert Edit Media. And if you want to give the source, or if you want to embed it, or advanced, this is how you would go about doing that in here.
So it's much like,
You can get the embed code like from YouTube and paste that in here.
Another option when you're working with videos and it's not your video,
It's best to link out to the video. So if you know the link where that video lives, that page, that website, go ahead and take that website link and put it into the course instead of downloading it and then uploading it. But if it's yours, it's okay to go ahead and embed it into your course. Linking out is the best option though for copyright compliance.
Yep. If you have another file on your computer that you want to add here, you can get there by going to Files and then upload a new file. And I really don't think I have any videos on my computer, but basically you would click it like this and say Upload. And then it adds that file here as a link to whatever file you have.
So do you have suggestions on when to use pages and when to use files?
I would say Pages is usually the easiest way to add your content in here. If you were to use files, it would be something maybe like, I need somebody to look at this image. It could be a graph to answer questions about. It could be a PDF reading that you would normally assign to your class. Although those may not be fully accessible, I think they're given a little bit of leeway right now. And if you did need some help getting something accessible for a student, we have some helpful tips. And of course, you can contact our department to help you with that too.
yeah, we have been hearing a lot, and I know it even came out in an email that PDFs are great to do because students can see them on their phone. And that's absolutely true. However, PDFs don't work for students who have accessibility issues. And so, as much as you can, be conscious of that. If you know you have a student who has an accommodation, then you're gonna not want to use PDFs, or you're gonna want to use you're gonna have both, so that you can send them to the students that have accessibility issues.
So additional training can be accessed for Zoom on the Zoom link. There's a little button here that says Get Training. And they also have a lot of documentation on their site to help you out if you have other questions about how to do specific things. Just like our site at Clear, you go to Canvas, we have a lot of resources on our page as well. And if you decide to use Lockdown Browser or Monitor, Respondus, the company that provides those tools, is having online webinars daily. You can sign up for one of those. So the question is about practice quizzes. You can make them ungraded. So under quiz type, you can make it a practice quiz right there. Surveys, ungraded, graded surveys, but this would be practice quiz so that it may still give you a point or may still give them a point, but it doesn't go towards their grade.
I'm thinking I might start out with a practice quiz to make sure it sort of works.
Sure.
So one of the things that I do is I have a syllabus quiz. So I ask 10 questions from the syllabus, and that's my practice quiz. It is required. They can't continue the course without it, and that's the way I check to make sure they have Lockdown Browser and that they know how to use. So it's a really good idea to do something like that without having it be a 4 grade for the first time, so that they can see and make sure that they have all the equipment and software and things that they need.
Okay, how do you set it up so they're required to do it, but it doesn't?
In here, in practice quiz or in a survey, you can mark it as not graded, but students can see it, so like I don't even have them see the correct answers. I just unclick that. Show one question at a time. I do and assign to everyone.
So in order for them to actually be required to do something, this is my real test course, so don't pay close attention to it. It's pretty nasty. But what you do is you have to do edit and you add prerequisites. And so it's going to say in this module they have to do that, and we're going to add a requirement. They must complete these requirements. So I can say they must have completed this assignment. Yes.
So I have a set of what I call worksheets for the students to go through. And so it's multiple choice questions and there are 25, 30 questions. That sounds like something I could call practice quiz.
Okay.
I'm just trying to understand this. And I could do something like that and give points assigned and things like that.
So for that, you probably would not want to do a practice quiz. You would want to make it a regular quiz. But when you set up the grades at the end, you would put that into an assignment group and make that worth 0 points or 0% of the grade. So when it comes to grades at the end of the semester, that's a lot more time than we can do today. So again, our chat and our email is available. We can help you out with those. We're going to have to go back and forth a lot with those. So you can just contact us for questions about how to set up your final grade at the end. Or you can download your grade book from Canvas into an Excel document and work it out like you always have in the past, if that's the way you want to do it. But you can email us and ask us how you go about that.
We're not going to start taking those questions, though, until
Close
face-to-face.
And remember, if nothing else, there's the help button where you can contact us with all of our information. If all else fails, here we are.